Hello. I was playing Terraria the other day and thought, wow, this is too easy. I need to make it harder. And make it harder I did, because I decided to do an expert mode playthrough, which if you don't know, makes everything kill you in one hit, basically. That's the whole point. So come with me on this horrific journey of trying to beat the Eater of Worlds in this episode in an expert mode playthrough. It was very, very difficult. As is normal, I start my playthrough by cutting wood and building houses for the stupid, dumb, annoying NPCs who will soon plague our world. Once we finish building our houses, we realize that we don't have any torches or any gel to make torches, so instead of fixing the problem, we just go and cut down more trees for some reason. Soon, we find our first enemy, a green slime who we will merely annoy to death by poking him with a stick. When we are done killing him by annoying him by poking him with a stick, we craft him into torches and fill our house with him. He is forever on our wall, and he will never cease the eternal torment. We find our first cave and get the absolute most useful item of all time, a step stool that we can stand on to reach slightly higher. We decide to venture into the desert, which was our last mistake, and thank God this wasn't a hardcore run. Why do I say that? Because we die here for the first time. I can't wait to die hundreds more times on the rest of this adventure. We get to the desert and find yet another invaluable tool, a guide to plant fiber cordage. Wonderful! Yay! We find a living tree and get actual exciting loot for once. We get warding climbing claws. I'm not happy because these are climbing claws, I'm happy because these are warding. We make some expansions to the gamer house, which is just a room that we can put chests and also some crafting stations in. Once we're done with that, we start getting to work on our elevator, which will definitely be useful in getting to hell. We do a bit of underground exploration before coming back up and working a bit more on our gamer house. We also find the corruption. Oh, how do I know the corruption is there, even though I can't see it? Because I die to a bunch of Eaters of Souls. Great! We grind for money for an annoyingly long time before the merchant finally decides to move in. That took ridiculously long. I make the smartest decision I've ever made in my life and decide to go down into the underground jungle where I find 2 gold in a chest and then immediately die. Here starts my annoyingly long journey to get that 2 gold back. I could have kept this going for another minute, but then I realized that would be very boring to watch, so I'm just gonna show you those deaths, because you get the idea. We eventually just give up, and I decide to work on making a nice little flower garden to cool myself down after losing that 2 gold that would be very useful to buy bombs with, but I can't buy bombs because I don't have it. We then do a little bit of mining, but then decide, you know what, that's enough for the day, and I go to sleep to continue this tomorrow. We start off the next day with a bit of cave exploration. We go looking around for chests and life crystals and ores, and we find, guess what, basically nothing. We find a chest, and instead of getting something useful, we get shoe spikes. Wonderful! I wonder when we're gonna get any actual good loot. And then, even more good news, we find a spider biome. Just wonderful. I'm glad I get to deal with these stupid spiders for the entire playthrough whenever I try to go to hell. That's going to be so fun and wonderful and a great experience. Yep, so fun and amazing. Yippee! We come back up and we realize that it's nighttime, so we make the best possible decision I've ever made in my entire life and craft up 2 potions and decide to fight the Eye of Cthulhu, without Hermes boots, without a double jump, and without a grappling hook. I'm such a smart person. This boss fight taught me something very important. All of the expert mode bosses have a funny little quirk that slightly changes their gameplay to make them 12 quintillion times harder. I didn't realize that without getting Hermes boots, this fight would be basically impossible, because of the Eye's insanely deranged second phase, where he charges at you like he's really mad, I guess. I don't know, I don't really have anything to say. Basically, he just charges at you, and it very hurts. Inevitably, I get my ass handed to me like I never have before, and I realize that I am going to need a lot more preparation than 2 pieces of armor and just his arrows if I want to get through this. This is where I decide, screw it, I'm going to go get a gun, and I go and get a gun, and I use it to shoot anyone who gets in my way. After accomplishing literally nothing for 10 minutes straight, I decide it will be a very good strategy to create an Eder farm to get the ancient shadow set. This was, in fact, not a good plan. It takes me the entire rest of this recording to get basically any progress on the Eder farm done, and I'm still nowhere near finished. I still have so much progress left. This took an obscene amount of time, and it was not worth it. After failing to build an Eder farm for about 40 minutes straight, I decide to not do that and actually do something different. I make a little beach house for all my fun NPCs that I have, of which I have like 7. I don't have that many. And then I fumble about in the jungle for the rest of the recording and accomplish absolutely nothing. So yeah, that was a waste of a day of my life. That's like 3 hours of me playing Terraria. And I did absolutely nothing, which is just great. I start off the next day by going back to the underground jungle. That doesn't seem right. To absolutely no one's surprise, I die almost immediately. But then I decided it would be a genius idea if I just went back there. Hey, remember a minute or two ago when I asked when we were going to finally start getting some actual good loot? Well, not now, that's for sure. Hey, remember a second or two ago when I got a mace in a chest? Well, guess what? Here's another one. Oh boy, is that another chest right there? There's no way that this could go wrong. We find another chest, and wait a second, is that something actually useful? Whoa, that's crazy. Hey, remember that chest we just died for? Did you wonder what was in it? Well, it was something insanely useful. It was shoe spikes. Yep, we died for shoe spikes. Wonderful! We then accomplish absolutely nothing for the rest of the recording, so on to the next day it is. The next recording, I had my mindset on one thing, and one thing only. Destroying that stupid eyeball that had killed me all those days ago. We decide to go mining to get some loot to help us defeat the Eye of Cthulhu, and we only find the most useful items, like a flare gun! After the fruitful endeavour of finding absolutely nothing but a flare gun after looking for a ridiculously long time, we decide to go work on our ancient shadow armor farm. After another hour and a half in the jungle looking for a pair of Hermes boots because I can't seem to find them anywhere, I finally found some actual honest-to-God Hermes boots, and I can actually move faster than the pace of a snail. I realized that after spending so much time in the jungle, I actually have the ingredients to craft up an axe of regrowth, which is incredibly useful, and I'm glad I can make some progress in this game. I find what appears to be my own personal hell, not unlike Ultimate Custom Night, because there's just so many goddamn Eaters of Souls out here. I hate Eaters of Souls so much, they're so annoying. For the first time, I actually get past the corruption biome and find myself in a lovely ice biome, where I find an ice crystal right at the top of the cave. How wonderful. And then the ice crystal just disappears and I don't even notice. It falls off the cliff. The fight starts off like any normal Eye of Cthulhu fight. You know, just move around, take embarrassingly easy to dodge hits, and feel bad about your skill, even because you suck at the game. But then, you get into a second phase. Not only is this phase incredibly dangerous because of his before-mentioned insane wacko dodge speed attack, but he also shoots out a bunch of little eyeballs right at the start of his thing, which is just so incredibly inconvenient. Also, apparently he just doesn't stop dashing once you get far enough into the fight, so that was very stressful, but I finally beat the Eye of Cthulhu. Another fun expert mode feature is that each boss drops its own little item that is an accessory, and it's very useful, especially the Shield of Cthulhu, and it's going to stay equipped basically my entire playthrough, just because of how useful it is. After that victory against the Eye of Cthulhu, I feel confident to take on the Eater of Worlds, even though it's going to be incredibly difficult. I do some epic gamer fishing to get some potions so that I don't lose in 12 seconds in the fight, but rather I lose in 13. I wasn't recording when I got the pants because I wanted to save storage while I was just sitting there in the farm, but I did get the pants, and then I decided to go build some houses in the jungle for the painter and the dryad, so we can teleport wherever we want because pylons are just so amazingly convenient. After building the houses, I decided to do a little bit of exploration, since I still haven't made it to the end of the right side of my world, and then I get my ass kicked by a bunch of mobs who had an infatuation for human flesh. Because I'm really scared of the Eater of Worlds, I decided to do some more procrastination and build a pyramid farm that I can hide under whenever there's an invasion. I do some more nothing for a while before I finally get the guts to take on the Eater of Worlds. I get to work on my arena before I get interrupted by an Eater of Souls, and then I do more work and I get interrupted by another Eater of Souls, and then I do a tiny bit more work and I get interrupted by another Eater of Souls. I hate Eaters of Souls so much. I blow up the last orb, but I can't actually get back out of the hole and into my arena, so the best thing I decided was to just fight him underground. This was not the best thing to do. This was actually a terrible, horrendous idea, and I died almost immediately. It's time for round 2, and this time I'm going to summon him above ground so I don't get caught in that fiasco again. This is where I learned the Eater of Worlds' little quirk. He shoots out billions of little spitballs that do obscene amounts of damage to you, and this fight probably lasted even shorter than the one underground. Partly because I didn't use any potions, but mainly because I just am not good at this video game. I do some underground desert fiasco stuff to hopefully find an extractinator so that I can get fossil armor, but what do you know, no luck. I was down here for 2 hours, and I could not find an extractinator for the life of me. So you know what, I guess it's time for round 3. I craft up some real armor so I don't die in 12 seconds this time, but rather I die in 17, and this time it actually goes surprisingly smoothly. I do the exact same thing, but somehow I don't even get close to dying at any point. I slowly wither down his health using my Jester's arrows, emphasis on slowly, and eventually I do get him into several tiny little baby Eater of Worlds that I dispatch one by one using my Jester's arrows. Gamer alert, I get this beautiful shot that takes out this line of 5 little segments of Eaters of Worlds, and it's just so satisfying to watch. Anyway, I beat the stupid worm man, and with the Eater of Worlds dead, I believe that should finish this episode of the series of me beating expert mode. So you know what, I guess I'll just continue this in the next one. This was very fun to make, and if it was fun for you to watch, please possibly subscribe. And then I can have more subscribers, and then I'll get more views, and then I'll get more subscribers, and then I'll get more views. So yeah, if you enjoyed and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, it would be very cool of you. Goodbye.